We're coming to you from VRIC 2019 here in Vancouver, and joining me now is Alex Klenman of Nexus Gold Corp. You're listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. What's your symbol there?
We're NXS on the venture.
Nexus Gold Corp, obviously you're exploring in gold, but what I find interesting is you're primarily in Africa, but you're also here in Canada.
Correct.
Let's start talking about your African properties, especially in Burkina Faso.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 4 properties in Burkina Faso, right around 550 square kilometers, so a large land package. We're on very well-known gold belts, the Borimo Greenstone Belt. So there's a lot of deposits, a lot of mines, a lot of large companies in our area. We're in proven ground, and we have actually 4 projects that make 2 contiguous large properties. So we're happy for a small company. We've got a good package, and we're developing.
How did these properties come about?
Well, we were originally a gold company in Nevada. And one of our directors, Warren Robb, who's also a geologist, had worked for a company called Rox Gold, and he knew Burkina quite well. And he had a project he knew was available, and we took a shot at it, and actually turned out to be quite a good move for us.
You know, it would be natural for an investor to say, well, why didn't you stay in Nevada? It's a regulatory environment that we understand. Wouldn't it be easier to operate there? Burkina Faso, come on, you're in West Africa.
Right. Yeah, do you give up a little? You certainly give up a little. The environment for us as a smaller company in Nevada was difficult. If you have 5 or 6 projects or 7 projects, it's more sustainable, much more expensive, but sustainable, because you have regulatory things that go on in terms of birds, archaeological finds, types of things that you deal with the Bureau of Land Management or the Forestry Service can really have an impact on
Well, it can shut you down pretty quickly,
100%, yeah. Burkina, we don't have that, and to cozy up to majors, to get prime ground that hasn't been pin cushioned already, Burkina really gives you a good in for that, and for us, we've slid in there quite nicely and done quite well.
Well, tell me about your major project there.
Yeah, we have a joint project. Really, we call it a joint project. It's 2 properties joined.
Which, as you say, become a contiguous.
Yeah. Boobaloo Rukunga. The names are fantastic. So Boobaloo is one, Rukunga is the other. Boobaloo Rukunga gives us a total of 8 drill-tested zones. So that's quite a large number of areas that we've proved mineralization in. Our goal now is to sort of fill those gaps. We drill in those gaps, and that's going to get us a resource estimate. We're hoping for something rather large and happy, but we'll take what we can get. The average grade in Burkina in West Africa is about a gram and a half. So we'll probably slot in somewhere in there. But we're looking for size. We'll get the attention of our neighbors if we can bring something to market that's a compliant resource, and that's our goal.
So where are you in that process right now?
We're probably halfway there. We could put out a resource pretty soon here, but I think we need to drill a bit more into those gaps and really get an idea of what we're working with.
And next steps from there?
Well, obviously, the prime goal for the company is to deliver a resource to market. That'll back an evaluation rather than the speculative evaluation that exploration companies find themselves in. So we're keen on getting that done. At this point, like I say, we're probably halfway there to getting that done, but the northern properties give us a different dynamic. So we've got 2. The southern properties, Boobaloo, Rukunga, give us the path to resource. The northern properties give us grade, a longer path to resource, but there's a different narrative taking place in the northern properties.
Well, let's talk about that now.
Yeah,
what is that narrative?
Well, the Nianguela and Dakuli projects are in the north. They are together. Both have given so far quite good grades, as high as 26 grams, 29 grams, pretty high grade.
Substantially different.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah.
And so, but different geological setting, and more challenging to drill just on that setup. But we want to develop them because, I think our evaluation will benefit from us developing a higher grade potential, and so we're going to get that out of the northern properties.
And what's the infrastructure like there? Should you get the results that you want, what's the infrastructure like in being able to get the ore out of the ground into market?
Yeah, quite good. Like I mentioned, all the major companies are there. We've got Semifo and Endeavor and B2 Gold and IM Gold, large companies. So many drillers and lots of paved. We're on paved roads and water and power. Everything's there. Oh. So it's not out in the frontier. Central Burkina is quite established. So we have all the means to do it. We just need to define it. And once it's defined, I think a lot of things fall into place.
You know, a lot of people go, okay, Burkina Faso, I think I need to be somewhere else,
right.
And they want to walk away. They're in the news right now.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about the political climate right now and how that's going to have impact on your operations?
Right. Well, it's a great question because I could go on for half an hour here. I mean, you're statistically more likely to be the victim of violent crime in some large U.S. cities than you are in Burkina Faso. However, the news being the news. We have not had any problems. We're in a good area in Central Burkina, but there's risk. There's risk anywhere. There's risk there for sure. To mitigate some of that risk, we've expanded our operations to Canada. We have 2 properties in Canada, and I think that opens our audience up. As you mentioned, some people will look at Burkina and go, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Europeans have a completely different attitude towards it.
Well, they have a much
friendly.
Longer relationship
Correct.
with Africa.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So we find European investors tend to not chafe at the idea that we're in Burkina. North American investors need knowledge, they need to understand. But there's risk. For a small company to find large deposits, you're going to have to go into some riskier areas. Mm-hmm. That's the nature of the game.
Yes.
So we're perfectly comfortable over there. We're doing fine. There's been no issues. On the other hand, we want to open up our audience. And one way to do that was to include some North American properties. So we have 2 Canadian properties that we'll be developing, and we're happy to be able to do that.
Well, tell me about those properties.
Yeah, one is in British Columbia here. It's in the Bridge River Mining Camp, so it's north of Vancouver, which was one of the largest camps in Canada and one of the most prolific gold-producing areas in the country for a long time. We have a small package that's right in the middle of near what they call Little Gem, and historical numbers have been quite good. 43101 report has got some great numbers in it, so we're going to develop it. We just landed it a few months ago, so it's just new to us.
Right.
Our geologist, Warren Robb, actually wrote a 43101 report for a company in the 90s there, so he knows it quite well.
So he knows the region.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And the second property is in Red Lake, which is very topical and been getting a lot of attention. And that's, again, very new for us. Some great historical numbers.
Where is Red Lake? Just in case anybody who's watching goes, huh?
Red Lake, Northern Ontario. So Ontario, BC for our Canadian properties, and of course the 4 properties in Burkina.
And what does Canada bring to the risk mitigation as a development jurisdiction?
Right, for us, well, obviously Canada is well established. We're Canadian. We can deal in Canadian dollars, which is nice because everything else we do is in US dollars, so you're already at a disadvantage in some ways. But what we like about it, obviously, is it's close to home, and it will open up our audience. Many people will say, I trust Canada, I trust the geopolitical environment, I know the ground in the area, and I'm more likely to invest or be involved with your company. So it just gives us that thing that we've never had, which was Burkina always will cut a percentage of people right out of the mix. Mm-hmm. Even though that's probably our best shot at an evaluation, big evaluation. But at the same time, we recognize that we're not reaching a wide enough audience by just containing ourselves to West Africa.
But Canada also has advantages over Nevada, where you had been before. Mm-hmm. And how do we, articulate what some of those Canadian advantages are?
Canadian advantages for us would be simply one thing, for example, would be flow-through financing. It's an easy way to finance, or one particular way to finance exploration costs is through flow-through financing, which is tax advantageous to the investor. You can't do that in Burkina. You can't do that in the U.S. So obviously there's an avenue there towards continuing to finance what we do. But just no passports needed to go to Ontario, or you can drive to the property from Vancouver here. So easier travel and less jurisdictional concern.
Yeah. A little easier regulatory environment than, let's say, Nevada. Mm-hmm. Solid, stable, political environment, and tons and tons and tons of great infrastructure.
Absolutely. I mean, everything we have or need is here.
Yeah.
But there, we knew that we needed to open it up. Because you have a very select audience when you're dealing with Burkina or West Africa. And some of it's rightly concerned, some of it is hype.
Yeah.
But you have to overcome that. Perception is a very powerful thing. So for us, just adding some more properties outside of Burkina, I think is the right way to go strategically.
One thing I wouldn't mind just sort of finishing off on, and a lot of people go, oh yeah, of course gold, we're always going to need gold. The demand for gold's never going to go away. Why is the need for gold never going to go away?
Well, gold is, it has real world applications, but I always go back to the fact that gold has such a long history. I mean, gold goes back thousands of years, basically. It crosses time, it crosses culture, it's instantly recognizable, it doesn't need an explanation. You can put a ring on the table and people know that's gold. Whereas some of the other things we work with in this business require extensive explanation. And I think you can lose, particularly the retail investor, when you have to get to an explanation process that takes too long and they just don't know what it's used for. But gold is a currency hedge. It always has been. Not so much today as it once was, but I think it's going to find its way back to that safe haven status that it's always had. And some of these countries across the planet are backing their currencies with gold, and the supply just does not meet the demand. It never has, and it probably never will. So it's a good commodity to be in.
Provides for a potentially bright future.
You got it.
Thanks for coming and sharing this with me.
Thank you.
Thanks.